Welcome to a special episode of Lengua de la Liga, where we give our reaction to Rodri winning the Ballon d'Or, whether or not we think Vinicius was robbed, and we're going to give you guys one overrated and underrated player from the nominee list. If you guys want more content about La Liga, which typically these videos are going to be more about, the rest of the league, the other teams, match results, and yada yada, hit subscribe. But for obvious reasons, this is going to be a Ballon d'Or and maybe Vinicius and Real Madrid focused video. Michael, I'm going to come to you first. Very simple question, or maybe very complicated. Was Vinicius Jr. robbed of the Ballon d'Or?
This rhetoric going around YouTube, social media, everywhere that he's been robbed. I mean, look, did Vinny deserve to win it? I would say yes. I think maybe all of us, or maybe you guys disagree that Vinny should have not won it. I think he should have won it because I thought he was fantastic for Real Madrid, pivotal in them winning the Champions League. Now, Brazil, that's a totally different case because he has scored since 23-24 season 2 goals for Brazil. And they were against the worst Paraguay side we have ever seen in our lifetime. Now, take away Brazil. If you're talking about club football, I'm okay with Vinny winning it. Now, am I going to go crazy and say, oh my God, Rodri just did the craziest robbery in mankind history? No, he didn't. This is not a robbery. You cannot tell me, and people in the comments as well can get their thoughts. Do you really want to say heart and heart, you're going to go to the jury and say Vinny was the best player in the world last season? No, you cannot say that. He was not the undisputed best player. He was obviously the best, but not the best. So I think Rodri, did he deserve to win it? I'm not too sure either because he didn't even win PFA Player of the Season last year. It was Foden. So you could make an argument he wasn't even Man City's best player. I think it's more like, oh, we didn't give it to Rodri the previous season or any Man City player the previous season. We gave it to Messi. Now we're going to give it to him. I mean, these votings, I think this whole voting scheme of the Ballon d'Or is rigged because I'm going to give a great example. Shout out to our brothers from Ecuador, right? Do you know what their top 3 was for the Ballon d'Or? Guys?
I don't even want to guess, to be honest, but...
Like, their votes for the Ballon d'Or?
Yeah, so Toni Kroos was number 1. Vinicius Jr. was number 2. Nico Williams was number 3.
Wow.
No, that's...
Wow.
So,
how many? Nico being 3 is kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. But
how many Ecuadorians play Bilbao again? Somebody remind me. I mean, there's got to be some dual nat there. That's Nico Williams.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's an insane shout. I mean, the Euro PR must be super strong down in South America.
Super strong. But yeah, I think this just shows that the voting scheme for the Ballon d'Or is just flawed at all. But yeah, look, Vinny, he's not robbed, but he should have won it.
Jose, you agree? Was Vinicius robbed?
No, he just wasn't. Look, I think you can make a case for Vinny to win it. Just like you can make a case for Jude Bellingham to win it, for Rodri to win it. I agree with Michael's take on there was no clear-cut winner. There was no undisputed, undeniable winner for the Ballon d'Or. So it does become a contentious pick. Like, regardless of who would have won that, there's going to be upset fans. You're not going to make everybody happy. And I agree with what Michael said. Like, the voting and whatever, they call it the top 100 journalists or publications out there who have a vote on this thing. I don't know how much credibility we can give to some of these parties who are placing their votes. Like, Nico Williams getting a top 3 shout. Holy, that PR is insane. Even him being top 15, I think he was 15th place overall in those standings. Bro, we're still waiting for this player to mature, much less be considered one of the best players in the world. Like, he's got to get there. Not that he can't be, he's just not there today. And then we also see guys like Lookman and like other players that I'm just like, how? But anyway, put some of that aside. Was Vinny robbed? No. I think by even putting that narrative out there, we now need to kind of look back at like how many other players have been robbed of this trophy, right? Holland, in the previous year, going back to guys like Thierry Henry in 03 or 04. Lewandowski not getting his trophy. Yeah, and you look back at all these moments, right? I think regardless of whether you feel Vinny was robbed or not, personally, I don't believe it. I think if you look at his stats from last season, I think if you even look at like what the Ballon d'Or rankings were going into the latter months of the season, right? March, April, bro, he wasn't even top 5. He wasn't even top 5 at that point in time with 2 months left in the season. So really what everybody is judging everything off of this robbery off of is recency bias. And I always say recency bias, it's undefeated, bro. You almost can't beat it. I understand how pivotal he was to Real Madrid winning the Champions League, But like Michael already said, you have to factor in what he's done for Brazil, next to nothing, as big of a player as he is. And for the entire La Liga season, if Lewandowski had a down season, he was washed by so many fans' opinions all across the globe. He had a better statistical season than Vinicius Jr. He had a better season, yet Vinny gets the Madrid PR that allows him to springboard quickly into top 3, top 2 rankings in the Ballon d'Or. I
You
think
know who else did?
anyone can make it. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off, but here's some other players that statistically, no context, had better seasons than Vinicius Jr.
I
from a
can't wait for this
goal and assist output. Anthony Gordon from Newcastle. More league assists and goals than Vinicius. Jared Bowen, Mateta from Crystal Palace, Kai
That's the big
Havertz,
one.
Alexander Lacazette. Now, these guys didn't win a Champions League, right? But the fact that they have better goal output in the league than the person who is apparently robbed of the Ballon d'Or, 15 league goals, and you're robbed? I feel like I'm about to be the biggest hater in this video.
So I was just going to say, but he was injured for 2 to 3 months of the season last year.
Fair. All I'm saying is, like, for those who are throwing out the stats, it's not a valid argument. Like, there's so many players that are clear of those numbers.
Also, injuries, like, I'm sorry, it's harsh. I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. You weren't available. Like, let's say somebody had 50 games and another player had 30 games. If they have identical stats, guess what, bruh? One dude played 20 more games. He was available for, like, potentially 3 more months of the season. That's a big deal. There's one person on this list, we'll get to some people who I think are a little overrated, who barely played, and they're cracking the top 15. And I'm like, damn, okay, I guess I'm tripping over here. Apparently, you only have to play 15 games to finish as a Ballon d'Or nominee. I think Vinicius, to say this is a robbery, I think is honestly pretty laughable. And I think it's kind of pathetic. It's borderline sad. And I think the response that we've seen from Vinicius and Real Madrid, acting like there's a conspiracy against arguably the biggest footballing organization in the world, is laughable to me. It really is. I cannot say personally that I would have Vinny in my top 3. I would probably have him 5th. And I think I said this on a couple episodes ago. I would have him 5th. He had a phenomenal season. Other players had phenomenal seasons on worse teams and did just as much and did more for their national team. I think the only way you can have Vinny 1 is if you kind of, or I'll say undisputed number 1, is if you wipe your ass with like international play. You're like, Copa America, Mickey Mouse, who cares? World Cup qualifiers, who cares? By the way, let me just read you Vinny's stats in World Cup qualifying. It's kind of ridiculous here. In 2 World Cup cycles, he has 2 goal involvements in World Cup qualifying.
0 goals.
Oh, I had 1 written down. Oh, it was an assist. You're right. He got an assist against Colombia, I think, or something like that. Okay. Well, there we go. 2 goal involvements in 2 cycles. I mean, I'm sorry, bro, but like, international football for me has to be at least 25%, 20%. Yes. And he scores an F- in that category. Not a C, not a B. He wasn't okay. He was trash. So how are you going to be trash for your national team? Not even poor, awful, historically awful, and win the Ballon d'Or undisputed? Nah, I'm not having it.
So I got a question for you guys. So for me, if I was voting, Ballon d'Or, give us a shout out. Give us Lengua de la Liga a vote for the Ballon d'Or. I would have voted votes, for. Bro. Yeah, we need 3 votes ASAP. We got Finland, we got Mexico, we got America. We're all settled here. Don't worry about it. But my vote would go to Vinny. Now I want to know what your guys' vote would be. Would you vote for Vinny? Because you said not even top 3. Now that's ASA 9, ASA 10, ASA 11, ASA 12, as Stephen A. Smith would say. That is craziness to me. That Vinny will not even be top 3. But I just want to hear you guys. Who would you voted for to win?
Go, Jack.
I'll go top 3 real quick. I'll go Rodri 1. I'd probably go Lautaro Martinez, either 2 or 3, and then give me Jude Bellingham above.
Bro, I got some crazy shouts. I'll be honest. I also just rate some of these players on an individual level, probably ahead of most fans. I would say 1 is Rodri, because I think that it was very clear when he wasn't there with Man City, they played significantly different. They dropped off at a level, even for as good as they are as a team. I would say Rodri, Lauta, and bro, believe it or not, Florian Wirtz. You could probably like interchange those guys at 2 or 3. Like,
you need
dude, he's my 4, bro.
In the top 3.
He's my 4. I put
Vinny's
Vert's
not in my
4.
top 3. I just think, look, man, here's the point that I ride out
Michael,
with Vinny.
15 league goals, bro. Come on now.
It's not even just that, bro. It's
Wait,
like, look,
he scored in the
Madrid,
final. He scored in the semifinal. I think he scored in the quarterfinal of the Champions League. We have to take into account, yes, goals and stats do matter, but in the importance of the end goal is valuable. And he scored in the valuable moments for Real Madrid in the Champions League. Now, La Liga, they had that done and dusted back in March and February when they destroyed Girona. But yes, look, Brazil is a totally different story. But you can't tell me that Rodri was the best player for Spain either at that Euros.
Fair. I'll give you that. But listen, if Madrid can have the season done and dusted with as good of a team as Barcelona had, despite the form that they were in for most of all last year, with some of the teams that La Liga has in general, if they could have the league wrapped up that early while Vinny missing 2 to 3 months, you can argue he's not even the most valuable player on his team. If they didn't need him to win the league by 10 points, how is he the best player in the world? It's the same argument that I make for Messi in MLS, right? Like everyone trying to just crown him MVP when in reality he missed half the season. Like how and they still went on to win the Supporters Shield, right? The trophy for the highest points, highest league total, and set a record in Major League Soccer for that. It's like, how do you give him that trophy for that? I'm on that same thread with Vinny. It's like, I understand he's a moments player and he showed up in the biggest moments available, but if the team can operate that efficiently and effectively without him, is he even the most valuable player on that team, much less the world?
I kind of look at this like the NBA, right? You have the finals MVP and then the regular season MVP. Guys like Andre Iguodala have won the finals MVP. Why? Because they had some lockdown games defensively and hit massive 3-pointers against the Cleveland Cavaliers. If Vinicius is so clutch in the Champions League, which I 100% agree, give him an award for that competition. Give him an award for the Champions League. But the Ballon d'Or needs to encompass everything. And he's, again, dude, let's say we have 10 points to allocate to the winner of this. And let's say international football is only 2 out of 10 points, which is fair, sure. You know, quantity of games is probably about right. He gets a 0.
Yeah,
he gets a 0. So if he is a 100% in the Copa del Rey, La Liga, Champions League, Club World Cup, you're an 8 out of 10. You're an 8 out of 10. I'm like, if he was even, I'm going to say it like this. If Vinicius was average for Brazil, he wins. And he's my vote. If he was average for Brazil, he's my winner.
What's average? What's average? Define that.
Let me see. I think he played
if
12 games.
Let's say if he scored in every game of the group stage for Brazil at the Copa America, would he have gotten it then?
Or at least had a goal contribution every game, right?
Yeah. So they went on the quarters.
I think there's a much stronger case. Like it's just the
because he didn't play in that quarters. Remember, he got the red card and he got the too many yellow cards. Yep.
I would say I mean, in one calendar year or one season, is it too much to ask for 5 goal involvements? Is it too much to ask with Brazil? I mean, James Rodriguez was washed and he's giving me an assist every game for Colombia. I mean, I can't. I love international football too much. I feel like the award would wipe its ass with international football if I'm going to say Vinicius is undisputed. And again, I'm not trying to be mean to Vinny. He was top 5, 100%. I'll even F my Jude Bellingham pick. Throw Vinny above that. Put him 3rd or 4th. That's fine. But I cannot when you are that dog water for your national team. I'm not going to let you do that. Not you, Michael. I'm not going to let the voters do that. Which clearly a lot of them don't know what the hell they're talking about anyways. If Nico Williams was a top 3 shout, I mean, that's
insane.
Ecuador, bro. That explains why they never hired a serious manager. Jesus.
One last thing I'll say on the robbery piece of it all. No matter what, whether you feel like you were robbed or not, right? Football is for everybody, okay? It's for everybody. It is not solely to crown Real Madrid with another reward at the end of the season. I think the entitlement from Madrid to just decide when it's not even 100% foregone conclusion, right? Maybe they heard some rumblings about what the final, short list kind of came out to, what the final point totals and votes came out to. But still, bro, imagine the world we all lived in when Messi and Ronaldo were walking away with this trophy every year, and either one of those guys decided, the other one probably had a better season than me, I'm not going to show up. Like, just imagine that world, bro. Like, there's something to be said about, I don't know, just being a good sport about the end of it, be a good loser. Yeah, just honestly clap your hands and do like Erling Haaland, the best response you could ever have. He undoubtedly had the best season of any individual player last year or the year before, when they were crowning it last season. I was honestly mystified that like Messi won that. I was absolutely shocked. But what does Haaland do? He claps. He gives him a congratulations personally on Instagram afterward. Like that is what winners and champions do. They don't pout when things don't go their way. The entitlement of that club and that fan base is beyond me.
I was just going to quickly say this about kind of going away from about Vinny winning it and all of this, but perfect that our podcast is called Lengua de la Liga because Spain absolutely wiped the floor with all of the awards. And this is the first Spanish Ballon d'Or winner since 1960s or 1970s. I can't remember exactly when,
60s.
but he's only the second one. So they won the Young Player of the Award, Lamine Yamal. They won the Women's Ballon d'Or, Bonmanti. Then Rodri won the Men's Ballon d'Or. I mean, Spain, we are now at the dynasty again of Spanish football. They dominate the women's side, they dominate the men's side, and they're just destroying everybody at the moment. And really, it's just crowning moment, I think, for Spanish football as well. And the league, look, the league, I wish there was a bit more balance with, other teams competing for the title, but it's just showing you that you can just see from the mid-tier clubs to the lower-tier clubs, and obviously with Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico, the league is at such a high level right now, and the players, especially from the national team, at a high level.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
I was going to bring this up later, but I'll just drop it now. I mean, 6 of the 15 nominees being La Liga players, which is crazy. And now it's technically 8 when you consider Mbappe and Dani Olmo joining the league. So you got more than half of the top 15 Ballon d'Or nominees in a so-called farmers league by some people. I mean, it's crazy. And the craziest thing about the Spain thing, which this video is not really about, is that we're looking at the start of a dynasty. We're looking at a dynasty with an average starting 11 age of like 22. That's the craziest part here. Like, not to pile more pressure on this national team, but I think it's fair for the entire world looking at the composition of this team, their individual players, what they've already accomplished. Nations League right before this Ballon d'Or window opened, by the way, for Spain, which Rodri won. The expectations for this team going forward, and maybe more so than the expectations for La Liga, are sky high. Like, they gotta win another trophy, I feel like, to put a bow on what has already been an incredible start to the Spanish national team rebirth.
Bro, great question. Based on that, can they overtake that golden era for Spain at some point? The 2010, 2012 dominant
Sure.
Spain.
Sure, if they win a World
bro.
Cup, yeah. I'm
just saying, bro. It's like it's crazy,
Yeah.
right? Like, you really think about that. Like, it's just like the fact that I thought I'd never see a national team this good ever really again. And like we maybe are on the cusp of that. How long before Bayena's name gets thrown to this top 15 shortlist? Before guys like Pedri, Fermi, Kubarsi, whoever's going to be, right? Like, there's so much young talent in Spain. It's an exciting time. I'm pumped for it.
Before we move on to kind of like our overrated and underrated from the top 15 list, I'm going to very quickly read the top 3 criteria for the Ballon d'Or voting. Number 1, individual performances, decisive and impressive character. And this is another thing where if we look at club football, individual performances, can we say Vinicius was the best individual performer in Europe, or even a top 3 last season?
I would say yes.
You would say yes?
Yes. I thought he was pivotal in their Champions League run. I honestly, when Bellingham was a little bit quiet in those Champions League games, Vinny stepped up. And we know Real Madrid had no other attack. So I think Vinny, he's got to be up there with those pivotal moments and those individual performances, really. Remember the Bayern game when Real Madrid were down 1-0? Vinny dragged them out of the mud, really. Obviously, he didn't get a goal in that game, if my memory serves me right, but he was really pivotal going up against Kimmich down that left side, and then he obviously frustrated Kimmich at the end.
I
thought that was the worst Bayern team of all time.
Well, you could say that, but still, it's the semifinal of the Champions League.
Well, look, no matter what, like, regardless of what league form you're in, right? Like, this is what I would say about Champions League is that, experience matters almost more than anything else. And so regardless of what Bayern was doing in the Bundesliga, and I think they were just outshined a little bit by Leverkusen, right? And that's what everybody tended to focus on, was how poor Bayern was doing as opposed to how great Leverkusen was doing. I'm inclined to agree with Michael. I would say top 3 individual performers. I think, bro, if Leverkusen was in the Champions League last season, I don't even know how you can realistically say Vinny had a better individual season than Wirtz. I feel like the invincible season, only dropping the Europa League final. He had goals and assists left and right in the season, in these European competitions. Man, if he was just playing a slightly higher level to match that with Vinny, I really don't know how you separate them. I don't. Like I'd be inclined to side with Verts just because I feel like he was more consistent all year, and Vinny had injuries, right? But Vinny's still top 3. Individual performer who steps up in big moments. Yeah.
Okay, fair. The second and third are team performances and achievements, and the third is class and fair play. Now, to be honest, why that's one of the top 3 criteria, throw that in the trash. I mean, this isn't like a daycare. We don't really care that much about behavior. The fact that that should be brought into consideration.
That's how Nico got in, bro. You didn't hear? That's how he got in.
It's his great smile. He got in for that.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's a nice guy, man.
Too,
Nice guy.
so.
Nice guy.
Absolutely
crazy,
crazy.
man.